Have you ever felt trapped inside a storm of thoughts where every fear echoes louder than reason? Do you ever wonder why one simple emotion can take over your entire day, twisting your peace into chaos? And what if the ancients had already left us the map out of that storm, teaching us how to master emotions instead of being mastered by them? Maybe it's the constant worry about what lies ahead. Maybe it's the sudden burst of frustration when life doesn't bend to your plans. Or perhaps it's that paralyzing dread that keeps you frozen, unable to step forward. We have all known those moments where negative thoughts overwhelm the mind, smothering joy and draining strength. But you are not alone in this storm. Every human being has faced it, this battle within. And for centuries, the Stoics have shown us a way through. They understood that peace is not the absence of emotion, but the mastery of it. Peace comes when we learn how to guide the mind so that emotions serve us instead of consume us. This path will not be effortless. It asks for patience, reflection, and daily practice, but it is absolutely possible. What you are about to hear is not mere philosophy. It is lived experience, sharpened into practical wisdom. These are lessons drawn from storms survived and challenges endured. And if you stay present, every word can be a turning point. So let us begin this journey together. A journey into inner strength, drawn from the wisdom of the ancients. 1. Realize your mind can generate happiness. The human mind is extraordinary, a vast engine capable of producing every emotion imaginable, from deep sorrow to soaring joy. Yet most of us never learn how to properly use it. Instead of serving us, the mind often becomes the greatest source of pain, not because it is broken, but because we let it run wild without direction. It's like sitting at a piano and striking the wrong keys again and again, each note jarring, each chord out of tune. Picture this. You are in a quiet room, but your mind begins typing stories of worry, failure, and regret. Why not choose a different composition? Why not write gratitude, joy, and memory? Just as a skilled pianist creates harmony with intention, you too can guide your mind to craft peace. Negativity rarely comes because life lacks goodness. More often, it is the result of habits, the unconscious choice to focus on the painful. Consider the morning when you wake up and immediately dwell on unfinished tasks. That thought spirals into stress, draining your energy before the day even begins. But if you pause and think instead, I'm alive, I have another chance today, would your energy not shift? Happiness is not buried outside of you. It is not hidden in approval or achievement. It has always been inside, waiting for your attention. Stoicism teaches that authentic joy begins with disciplined thought. Stop feeding the thoughts that weaken you, and joy emerges naturally. Think of the afternoon when you are exhausted, weighed down by tasks. If you focus only on pressure, stress multiplies. But if you pause, breathe, look at the sky, listen to the sound around you, you awaken the peace that was always there. Forgotten, but never gone. Seneca once said, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence on the future." Yet too often, we live split between regret and worry. Neither the past nor the future exists in the now. The present moment is the only place joy can live. Here is a practice. When dark clouds gather in your thoughts, ask, "Am I striking the wrong key?" Then gently shift. Think of one thing you are grateful for, one memory that warms you, one hope not yet abandoned. This is how you turn the mind from a storm into a sanctuary. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. And once you realize the mind is capable of joy, that peace is not outside, but within, you face the next challenge. How do you direct this mind so it serves you? Instead of running untamed, that is where we now turn. In the last chapter, we uncovered the hidden truth. Happiness is not buried outside of us, but created within us. The mind itself is the instrument of peace, and when we choose to guide it with intention, we can generate joy rather than despair. But now comes the deeper challenge. What do we do with thoughts and emotions that seem impossible to shake? The anger that lingers, the fear that tightens, the anxiety that never seems to leave. This is where Stoicism speaks with clarity. Negative thoughts, feelings and emotions are not permanent residents. They are visitors. They knock on the door of your mind, sometimes loudly, sometimes quietly. And though they may sit with you for a while, they are not who you are. Picture a heavy fog rolling over a valley. At first it feels endless. You cannot see beyond it, and it clouds everything around you. But fog always lifts. The sun always breaks through. In the same way, your negative emotions may feel overwhelming in the moment, but they too are temporary. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And how true that feels. Anger burns hotter in the mind than in the world. Fear grows larger in the shadows of thought than in the daylight of truth. Anxiety spins stories about what could happen, while the present moment remains untouched. The Stoics taught that emotions are not enemies. They are signals. They tell us what matters, what hurts, what we desire, but they were never meant to rule us. Imagine handing the steering wheel of your life to anger or fear or anxiety. Would you trust them to drive? So the task is not to erase negative emotions, but to learn to observe them without becoming them. You feel anger rising, pause, take a breath, step back, ask, what is this anger teaching me? What value is being challenged here? In this small act of reflection, you create distance, and distance is freedom. Consider this example. You feel insulted by someone's careless words. The instant reaction is to flare up, to defend yourself. But if you pause and ask, why does this sting so deeply? Am I attaching my worth to their opinion? Suddenly, the insult loses its power. You reclaim control. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, choose not to be harmed and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed and you haven't been. This was not denial. It was discipline. It was training the mind to separate event from interpretation. Fear works the same way. You imagine failing at work, losing a relationship, being rejected. The images feel real, but they are shadows. By recognizing them as thoughts, not reality, you reduce their hold. Epictetus said, men are disturbed not by things, but by the view which they take of them. Anxiety too can be softened this way. When your chest tightens, when your mind races, try grounding yourself in what is real. Look at your hands, your breath, your surroundings. Remind yourself, I am here, I am safe, this is only a thought passing through. And slowly, the grip loosens. But let's be honest, this practice is not easy. The storm of emotion feels powerful. It feels as though it defines you, yet time and again, you will see that even the most intense feelings fade. Look back on your own life. Think of the fear that once consumed you, the anger that once shook you, the heartbreak that felt unbearable. Where are they now? They have passed. They always do. So let this truth anchor you. No thought, no feeling, no emotion is permanent. You are not broken. You are experiencing weather, and weather always changes. When you learn to see emotions as temporary visitors, you begin to reclaim your strength. You no longer fight the storm. You let it pass through. You no longer drown in the tide. You learn to float until calm returns. This is not avoidance. This is mastery. And mastery takes practice. Each time you pause before reacting, each time you choose awareness over impulse, you are strengthening your inner fortress. So the next time negative thoughts crowd your mind, whisper this truth. You are only visitors. You do not define me. You will pass. And once you begin to recognize emotions as temporary visitors, passing clouds rather than permanent skies, You are ready to explore the tools the Stoics used to anchor themselves, their daily rituals, their reflections, their practices that kept them grounded, no matter the storm. In the last chapter, we uncovered the liberating truth that negative emotions are only visitors. They do not define us. They do not stay forever. They pass like clouds across the sky. But this raises an important question. If emotions come and go, how do we make sure we remain steady while they pass? The Stoics answered this with one word: practice. Rituals were the heartbeat of their strength. They knew that self-mastery is not built in a single decision, but through daily repetition. Just as a body is strengthened by training, the mind is steadied by consistent practice. Marcus Aurelius began his mornings by preparing for difficulty. He would write reminders to himself. Today you will meet people who are rude, ungrateful, arrogant, deceitful, but they cannot harm you, for you choose how to respond. This was not pessimism, it was armor. By rehearsing reality, he stepped into the day ready, not surprised. Seneca practiced reflection at night. He asked himself, what did I do well? Where did I fail? What can I improve? This was not self-criticism, but clarity. Like a sailor checking his compass, he realigned his course each evening. And Epictetus reminded his students constantly, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. He knew identity is not created by chance. It is shaped by action. So how do we apply this today? Begin your morning, not by rushing into noise, but by entering silence. Take a breath. Ask yourself, what challenges may come today? What values must I hold on to? Who do I want to be, no matter what happens? This is your mental armor. Then carry small rituals through the day. When anger flares, pause and breathe. Before replying, when fear whispers, remind yourself, this is only a thought, it will pass. When stress builds, step outside for a moment of stillness. These tiny acts are like drops of water. They carve rivers of resilience over time, and at night reflect. Write down what stirred you, what tested you, what you overcame. Instead of replaying failure, observe it with honesty and decide how to respond better tomorrow. This reflection is your compass. It points you back toward your chosen path. The key is intention. Without intention, we drift. With intention, we design our days. Think of your life as a temple, every choice a stone, every thought a pillar, every ritual a beam of support. Do you want it built by accident or by design? With rituals, the storms of life no longer shake you easily. You remain rooted, like a tree that bends in the wind but does not break. Others may rage and collapse, but you return to your center. And when people ask, how are you so calm in the storm, you will smile. Because it is not luck, it is practice. It is sovereignty over yourself. This is the essence of Stoic wisdom. To live not by reaction, but by ritual. To meet each day not as a victim, but as a master of yourself. And now, with rituals to anchor your life, we can step deeper into the Stoic path. For the ancients knew that true freedom is not just in mastering daily practice, but in understanding the deeper revolution within. Why peace itself is a discipline, and why self-mastery is the greatest power of all. Rituals prepare us. They steady the mind. They give us structure in the storm. But the Stoics understood something even deeper, that peace is not an accident. It is not a gift handed down by chance. Peace is a discipline. Think about it. Anyone can remain calm when life is smooth, when nothing presses against them, when the road is easy. But true mastery shows itself in the storm, when pressure rises, when chaos swirls. That is when discipline matters most. Peace is not weakness. Peace is strength under control. It is choosing not to be ruled by impulse, but to respond with clarity. It is standing tall while the world shakes around you. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is the heart of Stoicism, not control over others, not control over fate, but control over your own response. Fear may knock on your door, but you do not have to invite it in. Anger may rise in your chest, but you do not have to hand it the reins. Anxiety may whisper its lies, but you do not have to obey. The ancients saw emotions like wild horses. Left untamed, they will drag you into chaos. Trained with discipline, they become powerful allies. Your anger can fuel courage. Your fear can sharpen awareness. Your anxiety can remind you to prepare. But only if you are the master, not the slave. So how do we train peace as discipline? By practice, by reflection, by repetition. Each time you choose calm instead of rage, you are building strength. Each time you breathe instead of bursting, you are sharpening control. Each time you step back and choose clarity, you are rewriting your destiny. And over time, this discipline becomes natural. You no longer chase peace, it flows through you. You no longer cling to control, you already own it. You no longer fear the storm, you welcome it as training. Epictetus told his students, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Freedom is not doing whatever you feel, whenever you feel. Freedom is not being dragged by emotion like a puppet. Freedom is self-mastery. Ask yourself, what is stronger? The man who lashes out in anger, or the one who feels the fire and still chooses patience? What is more powerful, the one who fears and hides, or the one who feels fear and still walks forward? The answer is clear. Mastery is power. Self-control is freedom. Peace is strength. And here is the beauty. You do not need to be perfect to live this way. You only need to practice. Day by day, moment by moment, choice by choice. Each step is progress. Each pause is victory. Each breath is proof of strength. And now we come to the final reflection. After learning to guide your mind, after observing emotions as visitors, after building rituals, after embracing discipline, you are ready to see the deeper truth. That everything is temporary, that storms pass, that mastery is not about force, but about sovereignty of the self. We have walked together through the storm. We have seen how the mind itself can generate happiness, how negative emotions are only visitors, how rituals steady us, and how peace itself is discipline. Each step has brought us closer to the deepest truth of Stoicism. Self-mastery is freedom. The ancients knew this. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, they lived through war, betrayal, exile, and death. Yet they wrote with calm, they spoke with clarity, they lived with strength. Why? Because they understood that while everything around us changes, one thing remains in our the way we choose to respond. Think about your own life. How many times have you faced storms that seemed unbearable? How many nights have you stayed awake with fear, anger, or anxiety gripping your chest? And yet here you are, still breathing, still standing, still becoming. Each storm passed, each wound healed, each weight lifted in time. Everything was temporary. This is the final key. Nothing lasts forever. Not the pain, not the fear, not even the joy. Storms pass, seasons change, tides rise and fall, and in that truth lies your freedom. If the bad does not last, then you can endure it. If the good does not last, then you must cherish it. Either way, you win. So, do not stress when life feels heavy. Do not despair when the path feels unclear. Remember the wisdom of the ancients. Emotions are waves, storms are weather. Everything is temporary, but also remember this. Your strength, your resilience, your spirit, these are permanent. These are the foundations that no storm can wash away. They are the fortress you build brick by brick each day with your thoughts, your choices, your rituals. The Stoics remind us, you are not what happens to you. You are what you choose in response. Anger may rise, but you can choose patience. Fear may whisper, but you can choose courage. Anxiety may spin, but you can choose presence. And when you make these choices consistently, when you practice them daily, something remarkable happens. You stop being tossed by life. You begin to live it with intention. You stop being a prisoner of emotion. You become the master of it. You stop surviving. You start leading yourself with clarity. This is not about perfection. You will stumble, you will falter, you will react at times. But even in those moments, you can return. You can breathe, reflect, realign, and begin again. That is the discipline of peace. That is the practice of mastery. So carry this with you. When the storm comes, whisper to yourself, this too shall pass. When joy fills your heart, embrace it fully, because this too shall pass. When the road feels long and uncertain, remember, you are not alone. You walk the same path the ancients walked, and they have already shown us the way. The way is simple, though not easy. Guide your mind. Observe your emotions. Build rituals. Practice discipline. Trust the temporary, and through it all, choose mastery over reaction. Because at the end of it all, the greatest freedom you will ever know is not control over others, not control over fate, but control over yourself. When we look back on the journey we have taken together, what do we see? We see the storm of thoughts and emotions that so often overwhelm us. We see the fear that whispers, the anger that burns, the anxiety that grips, and we see how easily we hand over our peace to shadows of the mind. Yet in every chapter the ancients have reminded us, this storm is not the whole of life. It is only passing weather, page by page, lesson by lesson. We have uncovered truths that are simple, yet powerful. First, that the mind itself is the source of joy. Happiness is not locked outside of us, not waiting for achievement or approval, but already here, waiting for us to turn toward it. Just as a musician shapes harmony from strings, so too can we shape peace from our thoughts. By choosing gratitude over complaint, presence over regret, clarity over confusion, we begin to see that happiness has always been within our reach. Second, we learn that emotions are visitors. They come, they stay for a time, and they leave. They are not who we are. Anger, fear, and anxiety do not define us. They only pass through us like clouds across the sky. When we learn to observe rather than identify, when we learn to witness rather than obey, we reclaim our power. We are no longer captives of our own storms. We are the vast sky in which they move. Third, we discovered the power of ritual. The ancients knew that strength is not built in grand gestures, but in daily practice. Morning reflections that prepare us for challenge. Pauses during the day that anchor us in calm. Evening reflections that realign our path. These rituals are not weakness, but architecture. They build the inner fortress, stone by stone, so that when the storm comes, we remain unshaken. Fourth, we saw that peace is not accident, but discipline. To remain calm when nothing presses against us is easy, but to remain calm when chaos rises, that is mastery. Peace is not passive, it is active. It is the choice again and again to respond with clarity instead of impulse. It is the discipline of not giving our power away to fear or anger. It is sovereignty over the self. And finally, we came to the greatest truth of all, that everything is temporary. Pain is temporary. Fear is temporary. Even joy is temporary. The seasons of life rise and fall, but the strength we build through these practices, the wisdom we cultivate, the self-mastery we develop, this endures. This is what remains when everything else fades. So, what do we carry forward? We carry the understanding that storms pass, that emotions shift, that thoughts can be guided, that rituals strengthen, that discipline frees, and that impermanence itself is our teacher. This is not just philosophy. It is a way of living, a way of meeting each day with calm, of meeting each challenge with strength, of meeting each moment with gratitude. Imagine this life, a life where insults no longer pierce you, where fear no longer cages you, where anxiety no longer drowns you. A life where you rise each morning not dragged by circumstance, but centered in clarity. A life where you love harder, laugh louder, and live fuller, because you understand everything is temporary, so everything is precious. This is the life the ancients point us toward. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Seneca taught us, true happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence on the future. Epictetus urged us, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Taken together, there. Wisdom creates a map to resilience, a map to clarity, a map to freedom. And now the question falls to us. Will we follow it? Because Stoicism is not something to admire from a distance. It is something to practice in the small moments. It is the pause before reaction, the breath before words, the reflection before sleep, the gratitude upon waking. It is not theory. It is training. It is not abstract. It is alive in the choices we make. So as we close this reflection, carry this with you. When fear rises, whisper, this too shall pass. When anger burns, remind yourself you are not its slave. When anxiety grips, ground yourself in the present. When joy arrives, embrace it fully, for it too is fleeting. This is the path to freedom, not the freedom of doing whatever you want, whenever you want, but the freedom of never being ruled by what you feel, the freedom of sovereignty over the self, the freedom of inner peace. And this freedom is yours, not tomorrow, not one day far away, but now in this very breath. So stand tall, embrace the storm, embrace the calm, embrace the truth that everything is temporary. For in that truth lies the strength to endure, the wisdom to cherish, and the courage to live. So stand tall in the storm, breathe in the present, trust the unfolding, and know that everything you feel is temporary, but the strength you build through Stoicism will last forever. Thank you for walking this path with us. If this message brought you even a moment of clarity, welcome to Marcus Aurelius Stoic Resilience. We are just getting started. Like this video if one of these truths spoke to you. Share it with someone who is drowning in negative thoughts and needs this reminder. Subscribe to Marcus Aurelius Stoic Resilience for weekly Stoic wisdom from the ancients. See you in the next chapter. Until then, stay grounded, stay grateful, stay stoic.